following is a presentation of the Retro Network.
Step back in time, then jump ahead. From retro shelves to what's hot today. Action figures, plastic dreams. Every toy has something to say. We chase the rare, the love, the lost. Mint in box or battle worn. From dusty bins to holy grails. It's the hunt we're living for. Welcome to the wide world of toys, where every collector finds their voice. From vintage vibes to the brand new noise. Come play, come share, come join the joy. In the wide world of toys. Spin the dial, rewind the years. Hear the stories, laughs and cheers. One more figure, one more find. Collecting keeps us young in mind. Yeah, this is the wide world of toys. So grab your memories, make some noise. Let's dive into the wide world of toys.
Hello and welcome to the Wide World of Toys podcast, the show where nostalgia meets the now. Each episode, we dive into the stories behind the toys we loved, the treasures still waiting to be found, and the trends shaping the collecting community today. From retro classics to cutting-edge creations, we explore the entire toy universe, one collectible at a time. So dust off those shelves, cue the nostalgia, and get ready. I am your host, Ken, and I'm glad you found your way back to the show. This is episode 3, and I hope you enjoyed our last episode, episode 2, where I took a look back at some of my favorite Christmas gifts that I had received as a kid back in the 70s and 80s. Before we get into the main topic of the show, let's get into a little feedback from last episode. So we had some feedback. If you're a regular listener to the Retro Resurgence podcast, we have our loyal listener, Gerospace, and he comes at us with some feedback, and he says, I absolutely love these episodes. Listen to this episode twice today. Also, that theme song is perfect. Reminds me of Stan Bush style music like The Touch. Great stuff, my friend. Yeah, thanks, Gerospace. You're always out there giving us feedback, whether it's the Retro Resurgence or here on the Wide World of Toys. So thanks for that feedback. And then I also got another piece of feedback over on our Retro Resurgence Instagram account. And this is from Serpy Matt. And he says, fun episode. Some of my most memorable Christmas gifts growing up. The Secret Wars Tower of Doom. Ninja Gaiden for the NES, a Marvel Comics collector's kit, and the Mego Chips figures. Yeah, I remember those old 70s and 80s styles, almost kind of doll-looking type figures from Mego, and Chips was one of my favorite shows back in the day. So thank you to Serpy Matt for that comment, and that's all the feedback I had for episode 2. So before we get into the main topic, I'm going to switch this episode up a little bit, and I have brought a guest onto the show for the first time, and you guys will know him right away. He's my co-host of the Retro Resurgence podcast, Chad. How you doing? And thanks for joining me, and welcome to the Wide World of Toys podcast.
My debut on the podcast, that is Wide World of Toys. Man, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I thought for my first guest, I would go with a security blanket and go with my partner on our main podcast. Yeah, so I'm glad you're here to join me, and we're going to talk some figures here in a minute.
Yeah, man. You can always trust the old co-host.
Yeah, for sure. Before we get into it, we're going to tell everybody here what we're going to be talking about tonight. And this was a very popular, and I think it is still even revered to this day. And we're going to talk about the WWF Hasbro action figures of the early to mid 90s. Before we start talking about it, Chad, you were around 7 or 8 years old when this Toyline came out. Do you remember this? And did you have any of these figures back in the day?
Yes, I did. And yeah, little old 6, 7-year-old me. I have early memories of watching SummerSlam '89. That was the episode, or I'm sorry, that was the show where Zeus debuted. And
right.
his eye and his haircut, his stature, man, just totally creeped me out. And I really thought like Hulk Hogan was gonna like truly go down, you know?
Yeah.
I missed I was a little too young to remember Andre and Hogan, and I didn't remember any of Hogan's early runs, but that 89, 90 realm, I must have been watching. Now that I think about it, because I wasn't that age asking mom and dad to get the pay-per-views. So I had to be just watching Saturday night's main event or Superstars of Wrestling in the morning.
Yeah.
But I don't also remember having cable, so I got a feeling it was got to be the NBC Saturday night main event. Yeah, man, these were, I do have memories of having a few of these. I definitely know for sure I had in the Series 1, I had the Hulk Hogan with the Hulk Rules tank top. I had the Ultimate Warrior, who was probably my favorite just because of the colors, the green and the pink.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I had the really, really tan Macho Man.
Yeah.
He almost looked like an Indian. His red skin was just real prevalent. And then I do remember having Ted DiBiase because I remember having that little gold belt.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I think those are the 4 I had, and this might have been a Christmas gift or something. I also had the wrestling ring, the blue.
Oh, you did have the ring, okay.
Yeah, and that was always a good thing to have, whether you had I also had the LJN ring. I know we're not talking about LJNs, but
yeah,
I'm sure at some point maybe you'll discuss those, but
yeah, for sure.
These Hasbro, man, are definitely for wrestling figurine collectors and stuff.
Yeah.
This is a very special series.
Yeah, it definitely is. And just to give you a little background here to the listeners, I'm on prowrestling.fandom.com/wiki/WWF Hasbro action figures. And I'll just kind of read a little bit of what they have for the synopsis of the toy line. So they say the WWF Hasbro action figure line was a toy line based on the wrestlers of the WWF. They were made by the toy company Hasbro from 1990 to 1994. The toys were made of plastic and each had a signature action move. For these figures, that was the selling point, was the gimmick of all these figures had a different kind of wrestling move, and I thought, and that's what made them really popular in my opinion.
Oh yeah, for sure. Coming from the LJNs, which were hard and rubber, and were so stiff,
non-posable. Yeah,
yeah, you could knock somebody out if you flung it across the room. These were definitely the opposite. And one thing I liked about these is these paired well. And you know how big of a Ninja Turtle fan I was. These were right around the same size, so you could have some collaborations with some Turtles and some Hasbro figures.
Yeah, that would have been cool. Like I said, these came out for the time these came out. For me, I was already 16 to 20 years old. So, these weren't in my demographic. But like we said, for you, they were, right in your wheelhouse. But I always still remember seeing these in the stores and just like, oh man, these are pretty awesome. But, I wasn't into collecting then. But still, like we said, a great action figure line. Some critics of the line complain that the figures were too cartoonish, especially coming off the highly acclaimed Wrestling Superstars line from LJN, like you just mentioned, which sold the rights to Hasbro after the final run in 1989. Now, to me, I think the cartoonish aspect of these figures is what makes them so great. You have your, favorite wrestlers, but you kind of have them looking like they jumped off the TV screen as a cartoon or maybe out of a comic book. And that's what I kind of liked about these figures, seeing them in the stores.
Yeah, and at the time, WWF was really in a weird spot because you left the golden age, which many consider the 80s was the golden age of wrestling. You're in that early 90s realm where, and we've talked about this on the Retro Resurgence, but you started having a shift where Hogan wasn't getting the pops and the crowd cheers like he used to in the 80s. And I think they were in a spot where they were trying to develop new characters. And in this time period especially, there were these gimmicks that Vince McMahon was putting out there. So you had these kind of occupational figures. You had the Brooklyn Brawler. You had the Repo Man as well.
Yeah, Repo. Yeah.
And then of course you had probably one of the greatest gimmicks ever, the Undertaker.
Right.
So it was very symbolic of the time period that WWF was in because these gimmicks were outlandish, over the top. Doink the Clown is the perfect example of a character that's easily recognizable, but to see him in a ring trying to wrestle and trying to team with people and stuff was just, it just made sense, and Hasbro did a good job. I know a lot of people think that LJNs, they were big and rubber, but they lacked detail and they lacked sort of a vividness, where these Hasbros, man, they just pop right off the shelf, from the card backings to the colors, nothing's, to me, that's that Ultimate Warrior figure. I think that's why I like it so much, because
that one's great.
If the Ultimate Warrior figure in LJN, he was so dull looking, and this one here, he's just wearing those bright colors that you remember.
Right. And then the website here goes on to say, these figures have become quite collectible, partly due to the popularity of pro wrestling in general, and the line being introduced at the peak of wrestling figures becoming collectibles. While some have very high value still in their original package, the most common loose figures range from $1 to $5. In poor condition, most of the line isn't worth very much due to their great abundance, but the figures that remain carded can command such higher prices. In good condition, a mint-on card figure can range from $20 or so for a Jake the Snake Roberts or Big Boss Man to $200 to $800 or more for a Dusty Rhodes, to the unbelievably rare Kamala with the moon on his belly. So some of these figures had multiple figures of characters, but then they also had little different nuances on each character as well.
Yeah, which only drives up interest, because if you're a completist, right, you want to get those chase ones and those variants and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's going to drive up the value of the whole line. So
right.
One of my favorite things too is some of these characters, on WWF television, you never heard you knew Hulk's moves, right? He had the big boot and he had the leg drop, but
right.
According to Hasbro, his one of his moves is called the Hulkster hug.
Yeah.
Now,
right.
For sure, you never heard that mimicked. I guess they were just trying to appeal to kids, because a lot of the moves were totally made up. Like, for instance, Jake Roberts, he was the master of the DDT, except on his card backing, he says he's got the Python punch.
Right.
You'll notice a lot of alliteration too with for sure, with these moves. But what their strategy was behind that, I don't know, because they could have easily, I guess, how can you market Hogan being able to do a leg drop? Because you don't need to have any sort of articulation to do the leg drop. But but he's doing that gorilla press slam, And of
Yeah.
course, it makes it look real when you actually have those moves that you can do.
Right. And then there is also, these were released in foreign countries. It says a large number of the collection has been released on foreign cards, usually French or Spanish, and are of far less value than cards that are all in English writing due to their abundance. For example, a 1992 Ultimate Warrior mint on an American card can get upwards of 150 to 175 US, while exactly the same figure on a French card may only get around $15 to $20. I thought maybe that it would go the other way. If they have a foreign language on the card, maybe that those would be a little more rare and more expensive to buy. But I guess it's, the other way around, it looks like.
And, it was all about timing with some of these superstars. Like, for instance, Ric Flair's time in WWF wasn't long, but he peaked at the right time that he got a Hasbro. You also had wrestlers like Nails, who didn't stay with the corporation long.
Right.
He got one. The Steiner brothers, again, sort of like a flash in the pan in the WWF. They were always more of a WCW team.
Right.
But they get a Hasbro. And then the decade, the line kind of ends, and you have like wrestlers who, like, for instance, Diesel, he didn't have one to my knowledge.
Right.
He was kind of in that latter half where he missed the cut. Maybe Vader, Big Van Vader, I don't think he got one. So yeah, it was definitely a short window of time, but for a collector, a toy collector like you and I, man, it's just instant nostalgia seeing these
Right.
things.
So the complete collection had a total of 11 series. Like I said, before going from 1990 to 94, the first 6 series went from 90 to 93, and then they started putting them on different colored cards. So in Series 7 in 93, they were on yellow cards. And then in 1994, Series 8 through 11 ran, and you had red cards, purple cards, dark blue cards, and green cards. Besides the figures, there were also other little things that came with this line. Of course, you had the wrestling rings. There was a couple different rings. You had a blue ring with blue turnbuckles, a blue ring with black turnbuckles, a blue ring with, so there were 2 rings that had blue turnbuckles. The top was a circle or a square. You had 2 other blue rings that had black turnbuckles, a circle and a square. And then you also had a blue ring that was a UK exclusive that had a sound module. So you probably hit the ring at a certain point. It must have made some kind of noise or something like that.
Yeah, I remember the one I had was blue with the blue circular turnbuckles, and can't forget it. In any of the corners, you could stick that American flag, and I guess that was probably like a homage to Hogan, who was all about the red, white, and blue. So
sure. And then JCPenney exclusive blue ring came with a Hulk Hogan and a Randy Savage figure, and then you had a King of the Ring, which was yellow and you could put probably stickers that had logos on it, so you had multiple rings there. The line also had mini wrestlers. You had a Legion of Doom, and then Earthquake and Typhoon 4-pack. You also had a Brutus Beefcake, Greg Valentine, and the Bushwhackers 4-pack, a Mr. Perfect, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Roddy Piper, and Texas Tornado 4-pack. And then you had a Royal Rumble ring that came with 6 wrestlers, which included Hulk Hogan, Sergeant Slaughter, Randy Savage, Ted DiBiase, Jake the Snake Roberts, and Big Boss Man. That's kind of, makes sense for a Royal Rumble. You come with a 6-pack of guys, which is pretty cool. And then for accessories, now all these things I didn't know that came with this toy line. You had a Hulk Hogan dress-up kit, an Ultimate Warrior dress-up kit. You had a Jake Roberts Damien rubber snake came with a bag. Another accessory, you had the Mounties shock stick. You had the Macho Man's crown and scepter, and then you had a stencil kit. So now, were you aware of any of those things? Do you ever see those in stores or anything?
No, not at all.
Wow, okay. I wonder if maybe you just had to order those like through a catalog or something maybe. So what else do we have about the line here? There were several prototypes that have been seen in print that are subject of WWF Hasbro collector discussion to this day. In an ad promoting a Toys R Us and WWF partnership in the March 1991 WWF magazine, tag team sets of Demolition, the Bushwhackers, the Rockers, and Rhythm and Blues appeared. The Rhythm and Blues set was never released. However, both the Honky Tonk Man and Greg the Hammer Valentine did see singles action figures released. That Greg the Hammer Valentine, I think now to find that is really rare, and I think it goes for a lot of money. I think I know Matt Cardona has a wrestling figure podcast, and I think he was able to buy that for, I know he's a big action figure collector, and I think he came across that and found it and bought that one.
I believe they have a video on the complete history of Hasbro, and I think it might be 5 hours long.
Wow.
But if you want to know anything about the complete history, I think you go to, what is that, the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast?
Yeah.
And, go listen to those guys. These guys are true nerds when it comes to figurines.
Right. Other unreleased prototypes that have appeared in print include Brutus, the Barber Beefcake, in red and yellow attire, meant to replicate his Mega Maniacs attire from WrestleMania 9 to be in the purple carded set. He is believed to have been replaced by a Tatanka re-release from Series 6 due to his departure from the company. Shawn Michaels' yellow carded figure appeared in both print ads and on card backings using the spring-loaded armed feature found on the Virgil, Jake the Snake Roberts, El Matador, Hulk Hogan #4, Papa Shango, Ted DiBiase #3, and Billy Gunn, but was changed to his released form. So yeah, man, like I said, there is all different kind of variants. See if I can find a couple here. Like we said, that Kamala with the different markings on his belly I think are some of the most sought after ones.
Yeah, and you had some wrestlers like Macho Man who went through 3 or 4 small gimmick changes.
Yeah.
The one I had was his classic orange tights with the stars. But you also had him as King Randy when he won the King of the Ring. You also had him in his, I'll call it like a space cowboy gimmick, where he had the cowboy hat and he had long pants and the jacket, as opposed to the traditional 80s Macho Man garb. So,
right.
You had some wrestlers like that who had a series of different outfits, and Warrior had a series he had white trunks. The one I had, he was the green and pink trunks and stuff.
Yeah.
I love his movement too, because he was kind of like had that shoulder thing. You just go up and down. I guess it was like maybe a press slam or something.
And then one of the ones that I really like was the Papa Shango figure was pretty cool. He came with his, of course he had his top hat, and then he had his bone necklace that came along with him that you could put around his neck.
Papa Shango was any company who would had the rights to make the action figure would have had a real fun time making him. But yeah, the way the wrestling was lended itself very well to Hasbro, because these things could be cartoonish because these wrestlers were cartoonish,
Right, of course.
Nails was like the escaped convict that didn't last long, but he had what you would consider a convict to wear, like the orange jumpsuit, and he had his I think he had his nightstick or something, kind of like Boss Man.
Yeah.
And of course you had Boss Man, you had Honky Tonk, all these different sort of occupational cartoon character type gimmicks. Had Hasbro been during the Attitude Era, it would still been cool, but it probably wouldn't have seemed so cartoonish, because the wrestlers in the later half of the 90s it was more realism and stuff like that. So.
Yeah. All right. So we kind of went through the history there and some of the details of the figure. So now, Chad, why don't we go over to the toybox1138.blogspot.com. And this is an article from 2013, but it has a lot of great photos of all the different series that went through the line. So maybe we can just kind of rapid fire go through these photos here, starting with the first one. There's 24 And I'll put links in the show notes to both of these websites for everybody so they can kind of know what we're talking about. So, yeah, there you have in Series 1, 1990. There's that Ultimate Warrior one that you were talking about with the green trunks. It's pretty cool.
Yep. These are the three I know I had from this series was Hulk, Warrior, and Macho Man.
Okay. Then we'll click over to photo 2 here, and you have Boss Man, DiBiase, Beefcake, and Jake the Snake. And I like that the DiBiase came with the $1 million championship belt. I thought that was a cool.
Yeah, and one of the best gimmicks of the '80s was the $1 Million Man. So
yeah,
and of course there was a version of him later on. I think he had the green jumpsuit.
The green, yeah.
So
going over to number 3, Series 2. Here you have a couple other Hogan and Warrior, Honky Tonk Man, Dusty Rhodes, and Piper.
Mm-hmm.
And going over to picture 4 here, you have Superfly Snuka, then you have a Macho King, you have another DiBiase, and then you have Hacksaw Jim Duggan there with the 2x4.
Yeah, I don't see a lot of difference between the two DiBiases.
No. All right, photo number 5, we have some tag teams here, the Bushwhackers, the Rockers, and Demolition. That Demolition one, man, that was my favorite one of this group. They have the black masks that you can put on over their heads.
Yeah, and also considering that they did not have LJN figures, which seemed like a missed opportunity. So
yeah,
Hasbro had to capitalize on that. And
right.
I think by this time, the Demolition was sort of getting ready to kind of phase themselves out because you had some other tag teams on the horizon. Of course, you wasn't long after this, the Rockers broke up.
Yeah.
The Bushwhackers, I consider them more of an late 80s. So
right, for
1990, a lot of these tag teams are only going to be very short-lived.
Yeah. So, all right, going over to photo 6, this is labeled as SummerSlam Repack. So this is just kind of the same figures you got earlier, just repacked, it looks like.
Yeah.
Picture 7, another grouping of SummerSlam repacks with the same figures. Photo 8, another tag team SummerSlam repack.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, Series 3. Here you have some new figures here from 1992. You got another Hogan and Warrior with different colors. Then you have Greg the Hammer Valentine, Earthquake, and Typhoon. So there's a couple of the big boys there for the natural disasters.
Yep, and Hogan and Warrior now, this is their third feature in the series. So now you've got 3 different ones for them.
Right. Then going to picture 10, Sergeant Slaughter, another Macho Man, Mr. Perfect, that one's pretty sweet, Big Boss Man, Texas Tornado, and then you have Coco Beware in this series.
With Frankie the Bird.
With Frankie, yeah. Photo 11, here's the first one of The Undertaker. Now, I think that one is probably one of the most popular ones of this line. I always see that floating around. You have Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Bret the Hitman Hart, and then the British Bulldog for Series 4.
Mm-hmm.
Photo 12. Now, these two, man, the Legion of Doom and the Nasty Boys, these ones are, man, these are some pretty good ones, I think.
Yeah, you can never mistake a Legion of Doom figure,
No.
I mean, they were probably the look of you couldn't mistake that look no matter what company was making those figures. So
yeah,
real cool. And Nasty Boys, man, they kind of floated back and forth. So it's nice that, I do know that Galoob, WCW used Galoob, and they had a Nasty Boys. So.
All right, then going over to photo 13, another Hogan and another Savage. This time, Randy Savage has his cowboy hat on with a different outfit.
Yep, that space cowboy gimmick he had. At this time, he had kind of transitioned into more of an announcer.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Then you have here Jim the Anvil Neidhart, but not Hart Foundation version. I think this is when he was teaming up with Owen Hart. Was he teamed up with Owen Hart?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I know Coco Beware was at one time too, but
yeah,
but I think this was Neidhart and Owen.
Then we got a Sid Justice, a Skinner. I don't know. Do you remember him? He was pretty short-lived.
Yeah, he cashed in on this because he really wasn't one that I remember. I know he's been around. He's been to some conventions, over the years, but such a short-lived gimmick, I think.
Right. And then the Mountie, and now we're in Series 5 here in 93.
Yeah.
Then going over to photo 14, we have Rick the Model Martel, Virgil, the Warlord, and IRS. Those are some pretty cool ones.
Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know why Virgil, looks like when he broke off from DiBiase.
Yeah.
So, why didn't we get a Virgil with him as a valet, not the valet, but the manager of the
bodyguard,
DiBiase.
whatever.
Yeah, bodyguard. So that would have been fun to have a Virgil figure.
Yeah. Picture 15 here, there's the Ric Flair. Yep. Papa Shango, you have Tito Santana, Repo Man, Tatanka, and the Berserker. Yeah, so some of these guys didn't last long, but they were around long enough to get themselves a figure.
Yeah, now you're starting to see the workers and the jobs.
Right.
Like Tatanka is your classic Indian, and Repo Man and Berserker, just off the wall, man.
Yeah. Picture 16, I don't know what these are. Oh, it says Mail Away 1993, so maybe those were just some sort of...
These were a little bigger. I read up on Matt's blog. I think his name is Matt. I think I've read of his blog. These were a little bit larger, but these were special mail-aways.
Right. All right, then we're going over to photo 17 here. Now we're in Series 7 with the yellow cards, and there's the Kamala with the star on his belly, and then there's Owen Hart. Crush, remember him. Yeah. Now, is this before or after he was with Demolition? I think this was before.
No, this was after.
This was after. Okay.
Yeah. He was in Demolition, and then he kind of broke off and became Conan Crusher.
All right. Then there's the Nails one that you were talking about. That one's pretty cool. I like that one.
Yep.
Razor Ramon for the first time, and then there's a Shawn Michaels for his, Heartbreak Kid, I think there.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, then photo 18. Now we got the red card, Series 8. Now we got Bam Bam Bigelow, Yokozuna, the Lex Luger. I think is this the Narcissus? Yeah, because his move is the Narcissus knockout.
Yep.
You have another Mr. Perfect, another Bret Hart, and then another Undertaker.
And if you remember, this probably was already committed to doing the Narcissist, but in '94, Luger was actually transitioning to the All-American, the one who he body slammed Yokozuna. I think that was '93, so they must have already had these figures already in production. Because
right.
'94, I believe Luger was already like the red, white, and blue Lex Express kind of deal.
Yeah, man. All right, going over to photo 19. Now we're in Series 9 with the purple cards. You have Rick and Scott Steiner, Doink the Clown, another Tatanka. Now you have a $1 million man, but he doesn't have any kind of outfit on. He's just in his wrestling tights.
Yeah.
And then you have another Hacksaw Jim Duggan here. All right, moving on to photo 20. Now you're getting into some of the other ones here. The Giant Gonzalez. He didn't last very long.
He was a terrible wrestler.
Yeah. Then you have a solo Marty Jannetty. And then you have, I don't know which one of these. You have the two, were these guys, not the head shrinkers, but.
Yeah, these were these were the head shrinkers.
Samu and Fatu.
Yeah.
And then you have the two individual, the Bushwhackers here.
Yep.
All right, we're almost done here. Series 10, 94, two Shawns and two Razor Ramones, just with different outfits on.
Yeah, I like that purple Razor. That reminds me of a classic Razor Ramon with the purple.
Yeah, that one's great. Photo 22 are in Series 11 with the green cards, and now here you have Ludwig Borga. He was a flash in the pan guy.
Yep.
Another Yokozuna with a different attire. Another Crush. And then you have the 1, 2, 3 Kid, which you'll know as X-Pac or Six.
Yeah. Do you know the story behind this card?
Yes, I was just going to mention that if you were
going
to. Yeah, his his photo here that's on the card, I can't remember who he said played the prank on him, but while they were on a flight, he was sleeping and he got his eyebrows shaved off while on a flight, and then he had to come and take this photo for the action figure.
Yeah, I can't remember where I heard that story, but when I see that card backing, I'm like, yep, that's the moment.
And then you have Atom Bomb, another short-lived character. And then you have Billy and Bart Gunn, the smoking guns. I think those are pretty cool, though.
Yeah.
All right, and then photo 23 here, you have the blue ring, which you said you had.
Yep.
Chad, and then you have the, what would I say? This was the King of the Ring, the yellow ring. Okay. Yeah. You have Bret Hart and Yokozuna on the front. And then the last photo here is just another picture of the ring from the JCPenney catalog. So yeah, man, like I said, I'll put these 2 links in the show notes in the description of the show, and you guys can go check all these out. Some pretty awesome figures, cool card backs.
Oh yeah, check out these hot new WWF figures. Unleash the lightning power of the tornado, the sheer power of the barber, and the firepower of Sergeant Slaughter.
Perfectly ridiculous. With Mr. Perfect, you can achieve perfection.
Wrong, because these WWF figures have the power of Hulkamania, quickness, Coco Beware, pounding force of the hammer. New WWF figures. Perfect. New WWF figures got the power. Power, WWF. Figures sold separately. Perfect. Perfect. New WWF figures give you the savage power of the Macho Man guarantee, the fury of the Hitman, the fire of the Dragon,
and the bite of the Bulldog.
The Undertaker will bury those stiffs. Not with these WWF figures, run a while. Check out those pythons. Sergeant Slaughter's invading. Bossman's laying down the law. It's lights out. New WWF figures got the power. The power of the WWF. Each sold separately, dig it? Oh yeah, new WWF tag team figures. They're out of control. Nasty Boys in action. These punks are really getting nasty. It's Tuesday for the Nasty Boys. Now what a rush! New WWF tag team figures. Each sold separately, dig it?
You gotta love new WWF figures with real wrestling action. Jake the Snake Roberts versus the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. Yeah. DiBiase lands a $1 million punch. Match Hulk Hogan against the Macho King Randy Savage.
Oh, yeah, my almost master finish Hogan guaranteed.
Hogan slams him again. Match Andre the Giant against the Ultimate Warrior. Andre'll squash the Ultimate Maniac. WWF figures so close to the real thing, it's like being in the ring.
All right, Chad. Well, this is a toy line that I've been meaning to talk about for a long time. And since I started up the Wide World of Toys again, I figured it'd be great to have you as my first guest on the show. We always love talking wrestling, and why not mix it with an awesome wrestling toy line from back in the day? So what I like to do here on the show, Chad, is I like to give each toy line retrospective I do, give it a 1 through 5 rating. So for this toy line, instead of stars, we're going to give it a 1 through 5 leg drop rating for Hulk Hogan. So Chad, what leg drop rating do you give this toy line overall, in your opinion?
Well, I got a little compare and contrast here because, I remember growing up having more LJNs for some reason, and I still have them. And like I said, the 3 or 4 that I had with the Hasbro, I do not have them. For the variety of characters, definitely Hasbro gets the nod. I think there's around 130 characters, whereas the LJNs, you might have had 70 or 80, according to some of the numbers I've. Durability, Hasbro gets the edge because those LJNs, man, you'd play with them a few times and the paint would just very easily come off. I've got a Hot Rod Piper whose shirt is so torn off because the paint is just chipped off, and it's not really chipping off, it just kind of tears off. So these were definitely built better and more durable. I already said, they were perfect size for Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
G.I. Joe was a little, they were a lot smaller. But you never know. G.I. Joe could take on a Hasbro.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna give this one a leg drop rating of 4.
4 out of 5. Okay.
Yeah.
I am going to concur with you, and am going to give this a 4 out of 5 leg drop rating. And the only reason why I'm giving it a 4 is because these figures weren't made to be articulated or posable. But the only reason I'm giving it a 4 is because some of the positions that they could only stand in, you couldn't really move the arms or legs and put them in a pose. They just kind of stood still in one spot. But as far as the look and the colorfulness and all the action gimmicks are really awesome. But that's the only reason why I'm going to give it a 4 as well.
Yeah, that was the knock on LJN too. They were so stiff and you couldn't really do moves. And then Hasbro, they've got the little things you push down or, acts like it's got spring loaded. But yeah, they were not articulate. That's why I always, anytime I was doing fantasy wrestling, I was always using G.I. Joes because you could do a DDT and it looked real. It's hard to do that with these Hasbros and these LJNs. So yeah, I'm kind of agree with you on that point.
All right. So me and Chad both give it a 4 out of 5. All right, Chad, before we end the episode here, I wanted to thank you for coming on the show and being my first guest here on the Wide World of Toys. But before we get out of here, I'd like to do a show and tell. So what we used to do on the Retro Resurgence is I would show something from my collection, and we never did any video of it. But we're going to do a little something different. We're going to put the video of the show and tell, and then I'm going to do an unboxing, and we're going to put that on our Instagram as a video. So I like to talk about new figures that kind of go along with the old retrospective toy line that I talk about. So Mattel a few years ago acquired WWF, and they have started making the old WWF Hasbro style figures, but with characters and maybe some characters that didn't get a figure back in the day. So I'm going to show you a couple of the figures that I have been collecting so far from this Mattel toy line. So here we have a Doink the Clown.
Yeah.
And his move is called Clown Around. So like we said, they all have a gimmick.
Yep.
So there's Doink the Clown.
Yep.
And then we have here Paul Bearer.
Very nice.
And his move is the Cremation Crush. So he has the urn, and he can, bop whoever you're fighting against in the head with the urn there.
It's nice to know they're still doing the alliteration,
Exactly,
Cremation Crush. And...
Right. So now here's one of my favorites that they did. Now this is The Undertaker, but this was when he had kind of that Phantom of the Opera mask on, when I think, he was really injured at the time. So he still wanted to wrestle, but he had to put something on his face to protect his face. So there we have that. And his move is called the Dead Man Drop for this figure.
Yep.
And then we got to throw a Hulk Hogan in here.
Now that's a very old school, early 80s Hogan, I think.
Right. And his move here is called, now you were talking about he didn't have a leg drop. Well, this figure does do a leg drop. It's called the Real American Leg Drop.
Okay.
So there we go. Just a couple more here. From WrestleMania 1, they made a Muhammad Ali referee, which I think is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And his move is called Pin Like a Bee. And then one more here.
Brother Love.
Brother Love.
Yeah.
And his move is called Love Struck. So yeah, I have a bunch more, but those were some that I wanted to show you. And then we also have a WrestleMania ring here.
Wow.
So, and I also do have a Royal Rumble ring also it's purple, and the Brother Love figure came with that ring. So that's pretty cool.
Now on the box there, you got John Studd, Cowboy Bob Orton.
Yeah, so you got the Hulk Hogan, Big John Studd, Cowboy Bob Orton, and then you have
Piper.
Rowdy Roddy Piper and Mr. T.
Yeah, man.
There is a 4-pack that does have Cowboy Bob Orton, Rowdy Piper, Mr. T, and Mean Gene comes in that 4-pack. So I'm hoping to get that one pretty soon here, so then I can have the whole main event from WrestleMania 1.
Yeah, and Hasbro, if you're listening, go ahead and throw in the Cyndi Lauper Hasbro as well.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so I've been sitting on this box for quite a while, and then when we decided we were going to do this episode, I'm like, let's do an unboxing too while we're at it.
Nice.
So this is the Retro Bundle 4-pack. Yeah, I'm not sure what wave this is, but why don't we're going to open it up here and find out.
Let's do it.
I honestly can't even remember what's in here. I got it. It came from Amazon, and then I just brought it down the basement here. So we're going to crack this open. All right. So we've got Isaac Yankem. You'll all know him as Kane, but this was his first kind of gimmick back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
A British Bulldog, Alundra Blaze, and a Shawn Michaels. So I'm going to open this box, and we can see what they look like on the inside here. All right. Fresh out of the box.
Yeah, man.
All right. So here's
that's cool.
the Isaac Yankem.
Uh-huh.
And his move is called the Root Canal, of course. All right, let's pull out the next one here. The British Bulldog with his short hair.
Mm-hmm.
The Union Jack Attack is his gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
And we have
The Showstopper.
Shawn Michaels. His move is called the Heartbreaking Punch.
Yep.
And then Alundra Blaze. I believe she was women's champion at one time, wasn't she, back?
94, yeah.
Okay. And her move is called the Blazing Uppercut. So
Really cool.
little cool unboxing here. Thought I'd try it for the first time.
Yeah, man. Fun.
So yeah, I like what Mattel is doing with these. You know, they're bringing back that style, and with the action gimmicks and the card backings are really cool. So yeah, man, I thought we'd do an unboxing here on the show.
Hey, while you're unboxing, I know this is unplanned, but I can show off something I bought a couple months ago.
Yeah, let's see it.
One sec.
All right.
Well, Ken, I know this is all about Hasbro, but you got me in the mood for talking all kind of figurines, and I have never pre-ordered anything toy-wise in my life. And when I saw these came out in the summer, I pre-ordered it, and it wasn't until the end of October when this one came in. And I think I showed you this, but this is my Superstars LJN. I know it's a little. There we go.
There we go.
Dusty.
Nice.
And this is, of course, the big rubber sized LJNs that are being re-released.
Those are still great, man. I mean, you know, they got the old school card backing, and yeah, man, I hope they keep doing more of those too.
Yeah. And then in this first wave of LJN figures, they have Dusty and Hulk, and then they paired them with two newer wrestlers, Logan Paul, John Cena. But when I saw the Dusty and the polka dots and, you know, that very short-lived gimmick, it also still includes the poster, which I have not unwrapped, and I think I'm gonna leave them in the package, just because it's such beautiful packaging.
So Chad, I'll match your LJN, and I got the Hogan.
Oh, nice.
For Christmas. I got this as a Christmas gift. So there we go.
Now I was wondering if the black backing, card backing, or the blue backing, like which one, is there, do they have both black and blue?
I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question.
Because you found yours in the store, or did you?
I did. Yes, I did at Target.
At Target, yeah. I think these might be Target exclusives. I think
it could be, yeah.
But I pre-ordered mine, and like I said, I had never done that before. But So part of me wants to get one to unbox and keep one in the backs, but this is the figurine, and maybe one day, hopefully, you'll do the LJN and we can discuss that. But
sure.
But yeah, Hasbro's, man, they were fun for sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's cool, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, man, Chad, thanks for coming on. I think we're going to get out of here. It was fun talking some wrestling, as we always like to do, and to throw some old school figures on top of it. Hey, what else? What's better than that?
Absolutely.
All right, Chad, we'll see you later.
Yeah, man. See ya.
Thanks for listening to the Wide World of Toys podcast. I hope you enjoyed diving into the world of toy collecting with me today. You can find this show under the Retro Resurgence podcast feed on all your major podcast platforms. You can also find the Retro Resurgence podcast on our website, which is www.theretroresurgence.com, or at our flagship website, the Retro Network, www.theretronetwork.com as well. You can also follow the show at my Instagram account, at wideworldoftoys_RRTRN, where you can share your favorite childhood toys or latest finds. Send me a message and I'll read any feedback I get on the show. Until next time, keep hunting, keep displaying, and keep those childhood memories alive, one collectible at a time. This is Ken signing off, and remember, growing up is optional, but collecting, that's forever. See you soon.
This has been a presentation of the Retro Network.